In today's video, I will be making a small update to my Omnitank tier list. As you may have noticed, Intelligent Systems always releases a new unit to invalidate my tier list right after I release it. It happened with my near save tier list, my nuke tier list, and now my Omnitank tier list as well. So this time around, I'm going to be doing a small change, and I will be going over Legendary Alear, doing a quick analysis on her weapon, her preference special. I'll be showing off some of the testing I did for her survivability and damage. I'll be going over some of her best builds, and then I'll be going over which heroes use her Dragon Blast damage reduction support the best. I'll also be going over which heroes are the best supports for Alear herself, and finally I'll be adding Legendary Alear to the Omnitank tier list. With all that said, let's get started. Okay, let's start off with Dragon's Fist, Legendary Alear's preference weapon. So what this essentially does is it has a few effects. It has Slaying, cooldown -1, a dual phase Brave attack, you get +5 to all stats, and then you can inflict up to -10 to all stats on the foe, but you do need to have allies from different games within 3 spaces of her. This is really easy to do if you just bring one harmonic hero, as those count as 2 different games, right? So very, very easy to get that. You also get 40% damage reduction versus the first attack from the foe, and from AoEs as well. And then lastly, you get Dragon Adaptive Damage, so essentially you'll be able to get adaptive damage against ranged foes. Okay, then we have her preference special, Dragon Blast, and what this essentially does is you get 50% speed-based damage boost when it procs, and then also if you have your support partner on the team, then you will get damage reduction piercing when their special procs, and also your support partner will also get damage reduction piercing whenever their special procs, and this is a global effect, so they can be anywhere on the map, which is really strong. Notably, it doesn't work with AoEs, but that's not the biggest deal. And then also if Legendary Alear is within 3 spaces of their support partner, and the unit or the foe special is ready, when it gets triggered, she'll get 40% damage reduction that is non-pierceable. So this is very much like Armored Flow or Armored Beacon, right? But it is usable against melee and ranged units, which is really powerful. But it can only be used once per combat. Let's start off with the defensive effects testing I did. Okay, so when it comes to defensive testing, right, we want to go to Aetherraid's offense and see how well this unit can actually Omnitank. And some of the things we have to test, right, is how well she deals with damage reduction piercing, as well as how well she deals with catcher balls, and also some annoying units like Fallen Maria, who can give that second life. So I think this is a great map to test it on. As you can see, there's some very powerful units here. We have like a +10 Scowled Out Adun, +2 Medius, we have Maria with her typical build, and we even have an Ascended Joshua here with a very optimal build of Flash Sparrow and physical no follow, so he's going to be doing a ton of damage. And then lastly, we have Catcher to provide that Brave attack. So let's go ahead and get the testing done, see how well Alear can do against this Catcher ball. Okay, so we have everything set up. We have Alear with 4 mythic buffs, some nice support going with Saline to give the extra healing, and then we even have Peony over here going to give that nice +4 to all stats and the penalty negation. Now the cool thing about Alear is she does have a ton of power, so we even do have the option to come here and just destroy the near save before we even start the tanking. And as you can see, this is a Brave Hector with Pavis set up with the Hardy Fighter, and she just is going to eat him up. She even can get through the Miracle of Maria, which is something you could definitely note. And she has the cool laser animation, which you cannot underestimate. Okay, so we have Alear here. Alear's all set up to tank everything. She has the units to get her stats, and then we have this catcher ball that will still be set up. Let's see how well she performs. We got Joshua coming in with this physical no follow-up build. Big hits there. But she just eats him up, and that's what NCD is so good at. You can see that she gets the counterattack, even though he does have that sweep effect. Same with Maria, who has the Dazzling Staff. But here's something you definitely want to note. Alear does not have guard, and so when she is tanking these catcher balls, she can get hit by specials, and sometimes that can do a ton of damage.
Our bonds connect us.
Okay, and as you can see, Alear cleared that up pretty easily, and that's a pretty powerful catcher ball in itself. A lot of units would struggle with that. Okay, let's move on to our second test for catcher balls, but this one's going to be a little bit more scary, because as you know, the meta is very dominated by red right now. So with this one, we have, your typical Medius and stuff, but we also have Emblem, who can turn off a lot of the supportive effects that Alear was relying on. We also have a far save Edelgard, who can hit pretty hard. We have our typical catcher. But really notably, we have this +10 duo Crom, who's going to be able to get Deadeye off. and duo Asker as well with the special Spiral 4. So let's see how well Alear can do against this team. Now, once again, you can see Alear can come in here, and she actually can take out Brave Elgar before the fight even starts. And what's so great about this is it just removes one more unit you have to deal with, or you can have the option of just tanking it if you want. But because she's taking literally 0 damage from this, and as you can see, Alear is doing 0 times 4, but she can still take out Elgar. And that is just showing you the immense power of Dragon Blast. 0, Dragon Blast procs, 38.
You can't stop me.
And then once again, just finishing her off with that Dragon Blast and healing up thanks to Saline. And then we're just going to go straight into the actual Catcher Ball itself. And this is where things can get a bit scary. As you can see, Duochrome is coming in with a pre-charged Deadeye. And just completely annihilates Alear here. And these are some of the things that Legendary Alear can struggle with. She can tank Catcher Balls, but it really depends who is on the Catcher Ball and how hard they can actually hit. Because a lot of the more powerful red nukes she can struggle with. Okay, next let's talk about Cav lines, because this is one of the other meta teams you're definitely going to see. And this is quite the powerful one, right? We have a +10 Veronica with low speed. We got a +10 Duo Dagger. +9 Legendary Shads with the physical no follow-up. Nice knots, very powerful Emblem +10 here as well. And then we even got Sigurd here to give the extra movement. So let's see how well Alear can handle this one. Okay, the Feud effect goes off immediately, and then we have the Rally and the Pathfinder coming in. And here comes Veronica. And now Veronica is not a weak red nuke. Let's see how much damage she can do here. Nice chunk to Alear. But Alear does outspeed her and can just take her right out. And she gets that nice healing from the finish, which is really good. And then Saline also adding that nice healing as well. Here comes Embla, once again, more red foes.
Let me guide you.
But once again, Alear can just handle that damage. Here comes Shez, but as you notice, Shez does not have enough speed to actually get the effective damage. And because of that, Alear can kind of just take care of her pretty easily there. And then here comes Sigurd as well with this pre-charged special. So as you can see, Alear can handle cav lines pretty well. Now obviously it depends on what the cav line actually has on it, but this one was quite the powerful cav line and she handled it pretty well. One of the big things of course was that Sigurd didn't attack to the end, which means that they didn't get extra movement, so a lot of the trappiness didn't really go into effect. But there are other units that Alear can struggle with, but as you can see, she does pretty well against cav lines because she does have that no-see disrupt, which a lot of cav lines rely on to get past some of the more powerful Omni tanks. Okay, let's do another example of a cav line, but this time with a few different things, right? Especially because we have Happy here, and Happy has Dragon Effectiveness, so this is a chance to test one of her weaknesses, which is Dragon Effectiveness. We can also test her AoE capabilities, right? We have a Lilina here, who is +10, fully maxed out with the Life and Death build, right? 80 visible attack. So let's see how well Alear can actually tank this. Okay, we're all set up. Let's see how well she can do. First up is gonna be Legendary Lilina. The AoE goes in 17 damage, not bad at all. And then only 8 there. So as you can see, Alear can definitely handle it. The AoE damage built into her weapon definitely helps her out a ton. Next up is gonna be Happy with that Dragon Effectiveness. Even got the Glimmer there. Once again, not doing all that much, even with the triangle attack. Alear's not struggling too much. And then everybody else should be pretty easy to clean up. Catcher's just going to come in here and explode.
I am the Fire Emblem.
And that's going to be the same with everybody else. But as you can see, Alear can deal with a lot of stuff. Even things that she should be kind of weak to, like Dragon Effectiveness, she can kind of overcome in certain situations. It's definitely something you want to consider and not underestimate. But Alear is quite strong and can take quite the hit thanks to a nice amount of defensive effects she has built into her kit. Okay, up next, let's do some damage tests for Alear as an Omni tank. So we want to see what she can do with the Omni tank build. Our first test is going to be a near safe Mortis with Hardy Fighter and Pavis, of course +10. So let's jump in and see how well she can handle this. She goes in. Now, as you can see, she actually can't take out from Mortis here. This is partially because of Pavis, the deflected melee reducing the damage ton on top of his own damage reduction. And then Pavis once again eating up that special. Okay, we're going to do that same test again, but this time we're going to have some support from Legendary Female Bio, who's giving that tempo effect. This is going to make all the difference. As you see, she can now kill the Mortis. This is definitely one of the weaknesses Alear has when it comes to player phasing, is that she is a bit weak to guard, as she really needs the enemy to hit her first so she can guarantee get that special off. But as you can see, once she does do that, she just completely gets right through from Mortis and does a ton of damage. So for our final damage test, let's have her face off against Lucia with Gambit. And because of Lucia's unique effects where she can turn off specials, Alear cannot rely on her special to get through this damage reduction, so let's see how well she can perform.
My will is firm. Let me aid you.
And as you can see, Alear just does absolutely insane amounts of damage. The combination of the quad and just all the true damage really makes it so that she can get through a lot of things even without her special. When you combine it with her special, she's just an amazing nuke on top of being an amazing Omnitank. Okay, let's talk about all the units who make wonderful use of Legendary Alear's support. A majority of cavalry and flyers love this support, as typically only bows and dagger calves have access to damage reduction piercing. Let's start off with some ranged flying nukes. One of the best users of the support has to be Brave Golveg. One of the biggest complaints I and so many other people had was that Golveg's weakness was damage reduction and no way to pierce it, right? She had to rely on AoE specials, but now with the Alear support, she can get through that and she can act as a very powerful hit and run unit or nuke. Of course, you do have to remember that there is guard to consider because she doesn't have anti-guard, but even so, Brave Golveg just got way better. Another unit that is just gotten ridiculously strong is Tili Scythia. This unit was already just a ridiculously powerful support because of all the ridiculous amounts of true damage she can get, but now that she has a reliable way to get through damage reduction as well, she's honestly probably one of the best nukes in the entire game. But let's also talk about Ninja Camilla. So Ninja Camilla was a fantastic Vantage unit. Having that built-in Vantage effect in her weapon, and then also having Slaying and a Brave weapon just allowed her to nuke things pretty hard. But sometimes she could struggle to secure kills. But with Alear support, that will no longer be the case, as she can get through that damage reduction piercing on the second hit. And honestly, I think this puts Ninja Camilla up there with Altina as one of the best Vantage units in the game, with this support in particular. Another unit I have to discuss is Brave Byleth. Brave Byleth has definitely fallen off in the past year, and one of the reasons for that was that she just struggled to kill with the Divine Pulse hit. But you have to remember, Divine Pulse is an extremely powerful special. It's always charged, it deals damage based off speed, and then it adds additional true damage based off speed on the second hit as well, and it stacks with itself. And when you add damage reduction piercing to a special that powerful, you get a very good unit. And so now Brave Byleth can not only act as a really cool Vantage unit, but she can even just act as a flying nuke and do that extremely well. And the same can be said for all these other flying ranged nukes as well. Okay, now let's move on to the melee flyers, and there are some great options here as well. So the three best options I think have to be like Rearmed Ingrid, Bridal Cyree, and Chloe. And the reason for that is they all have Slaying built into their weapon, which means it's to be a lot easier for them to proc off those specials. And all of them are very powerful in their own different ways. Some of the other melee flyers who use it really well are the Brave units. If you're trying to go for more like a guard-bearing forward build instead of like Gambit, you can run something like Ruptured Sky with cooldown support. Then they can much more reliably proc their special and pierce damage reduction, which just makes them that much stronger, especially units like Summer Chess who have built-in true damage, or like Valencia Pala who has that adaptive damage, right? And then you can't forget Cormac, who has anti-guard built into his weapon and Slaying, so he's a fantastic unit to go alongside Legendary Alear. And then there's the other flyers as well, who also have their own benefit. Now, the big thing is, and why I put flyers first, is because I do think flyers are probably the best supports to go with Alear in a lot of different game modes, especially something like Summoner Duels. Because the thing is, they get to support Alear while she's supporting them. So what that allows you to do is have a unit like Rearmed Ingrid who can act as a guidance beacon, as the front liner with guard bearing 4, and then you can have Alear come in, destroy something, and then also just be an Omnitank, take the hits and survive, and then Ingrid's also there to come in, follow up, and kill things as well. And so there's really good synergy with flying units in particular with Alear in my opinion. Now let's talk about some ranged calves. And now ranged calves have been an interesting situation where most of them have not been able to really get through damage reduction very easily, except for like some of the bow units and some of the dagger calves as well, but even then a lot of them suffer. And one of the best examples of this is Ascended Heir, who is a fantastic nuke who can get a ton of damage from her weapon, but she can always struggle due to damage reduction because she doesn't really have an easy way to get lethalities off. But that's not the case with Alear. Same can be said for Duelise, who is just a fantastic unit, absolutely stupidly powerful, and now that she can pierce damage reduction, she's going to be able to put out a ton more damage. Now, Legendary Leaf might be a weird option here, but you have to remember he does have anti-guard built into his Refine, which means you can use different builds on him. You don't necessarily have to use the Gale Force build, and he does have true damage as well, so he can hit quite hard. So you could go for something like a Ruptured Sky build, and what that essentially would allow him to do is proc a Ruptured Sky on the combat before the foe can even retaliate, and it will pierce damage reduction, which is really, really good. We also have Duo Nina here, and Duo Nina is one of those units who hits really, really, really hard, but she has some problems, and one of that is damage reduction. She has no slaying built in her weapon, no way to get cooldown, and no way to like proc lethality really reliably. So with this, you can get through damage reduction using a smaller cooldown special, or you could even use something like Brave Robin, who can give her that 2 cooldown boost, and then you could run Ruptured Sky, and it will pierce damage reduction. So very good option with Duo Nina. You have T. Sigurd, who has this pre-charged special. What this will allow him to do is go in, smash way harder, probably kill some things with that pre-charged special, and then also provide that mobility support after it goes off. Now let's start talking about some melee calves, and one of the best users in the entire game has to be Tiara. Tiara already hits extremely hard. Her ability to proc her special twice in one combat, and it just do a ton of damage already, is just making her one of the best melee nukes in the entire game. But the only thing holding her back, the only tiniest thing, was damage reduction. But with Alear, that's no longer the case, and this probably makes Tiara one of the very best nukes in the entire game, like period, possibly the best nuke. So this is a great support for her to take care of. Same could be said with Summer Ephraim, another one of our 4 movement calves. Him being able to just charge up specials by not only having the enemy hit him and charge it, but also being able to have a brave weapon so he can hit twice more, means that he can run like something like Ignises or Bonfires and have them pierce damage reduction, which is really nice. And then we have Nerthus, who is an anti-guard, which also synergizes really well with Alear. We have Summer Dimitri with his brave weapon and true damage from Atrocity. Ader is really scary because the only thing really holding her back has been damage reduction, right? She can come in, she can smash you, she has Surge Sparrow essentially built into her weapon, which means she's healing a ton, so even if you do hit her really hard back, if you don't kill her, she's going to heal back to full, and now that she has damage reduction piercing through Alear, she can just completely annihilate you too, so Ader has gone up in value. Same could be said for Brave Self. Brave Self has definitely fallen off a little bit since last year. He's still a fantastic unit and can hit really, really hard, but being able to pierce damage reduction really will push him up another level, and it kind of makes him so that he's not so reliant on AoE specials anymore, which is very, very nice. Then we have someone like Summer Shez. Once again, effective damage is stupid, but damage reduction was the one thing holding her back, and now that's no longer the case, though you might need some kind of way to accelerate her specials so she can hit those 2 cooldown specials reliably. And the same could be said for all the units below: Harmonic Roy with his anti-guard and slaying, Moosebell with his pre-charge specials, Erica and Ephraim with their special acceleration, Regan with her pre-charge special, and Ninian, who's just a fantastic unit to pair with Alear because she can act as a support dancer while also being able to do a ton of damage. Let's talk about another option, which is pairing her up with some tanks. In particular, let's talk about some armored tanks first. And any armored tank that uses Armor Beacon or Armor Flow can definitely use Alear support to get a ton more firepower and to be able to secure kills much easier. So units like Baby Hector or like the new Brave Corrin use Alear extremely well. The other units who use her really well are like the Black Knights and Zelgius. Obviously. They can finally get damage reduction piercing on Black Luna, which should have been the case anyways, but IS hates Telia, so that's a whole different other subject. And then of course we have Winter Sothis as well, who has Sirius. And Sirius is actually a very nice special, as it is based off the speed, and it gives that nice healing. So with piercing damage reduction, it will allow Sothis to secure more kills while staying healthy. And then of course we have to talk about the other Omnitanks. Now it might be a little bit weird to pair an Omnitank support with another Omnitank, but even so, you can definitely do it, and it makes them a lot stronger. Legendary Self got one of the best refines of the year already, and the one thing that you could kind of argue might hold him back is damage reduction. Even so, he hits really hard with his brave weapon and true damage. Having that damage reduction piercing definitely can make him a lot better. Now one of the best units I think that uses this is Fallen Byleth. Fallen Byleth wants to play that Vantage playstyle, but she really wants to secure the kill with Divine Pulse if she can. And with this, she gets damage reduction piercing on Divine Pulse, which stacks with the true damage, so even if she doesn't get the kill on the first hit, she's going to do an absolute ridiculous amount of damage, and then she'll get the non-pierceable DR, and then she can hit back again with another Divine Pulse that pierces damage reduction and the true damage from the first one. So honestly, the support has made Fallen Byleth even stronger. And the set could be same for someone like New Year's Ash, who is a brave Omnitank. She wants to hit really hard back with like a bonfire, and now that can pierce DR, there's not many things that are going to be surviving that. Vital Astro spammers love damage reduction piercing as long as they don't already have it, so it's not going to really work well on like the base Byleths, but pretty much anyone else, like base Alear, can love this support. And the same could be said with all the other Omnitanks, right? And the final section of units I have to talk about when it comes to the support are the nukes. Now, a lot of these nukes already have options for damage reduction piercing, but you can stack it, which means it's going to be even more powerful. The number one unit I have to discuss though is Fallen Maria. As a healer support, she hits really hard thanks to her attack speed unity and just her offensive stat line, and she also has anti-guard built into her weapon. So this will just push Fallen Maria even higher, and what the great part is you can use this in Aetherez having Maria support Alear, or you can use this in Summoner duels, right? And you can have Maria in the backline supporting Alear as that like raid boss unit, and then Maria can also be stronger and be able to take things out. Maybe any kind of vantage unit you might struggle with, now Maria just annihilates it. Then we have Legendary Celica. Legendary Celica does have like magic null follow built into her preference skill, which lets her have damage reduction, but being able to pierce it as well just is way stronger, so that's an option. Same with Thrasier, who doesn't have access to damage reduction piercing or having, so being able to get that is very nice on her. Bramimon. Now Bramimon is a bit of a troll pick here, but honestly, if you hate damage reduction, Bramimon is your guy. So what Bramimon can essentially do is you can have Magic No Follow-Up in his Preference C skill, you can have Magic No Follow-Up in his B skill, and then you can even have Alear support, so when he procs those specials, he destroys damage reduction as well. So it's just 3 layers of damage reduction hate if you want to like go that route, and it can make him hit really hard. Now the thing with Bramimon is that you can't use his support on defense obviously, as support doesn't work there, so it's going to be typically more used for SD, but it is an option. And the same can be said with Shez, right? She can struggle to get lethalities off, but not anymore. You can run like Ruptured Sky, it's be much more reliable, and it's also going to pierce DR. Same with like Ascended Celica, if you want to go for like a Flare build, or you want to just run a different B skill, you can even run her Preference B skill now, and get the Desperation and no follow-up. Kronia doesn't have to rely on lethality as much anymore, which is really nice, though Brave Robin has made that much more reliable. And then we have Brave Lysithea as well, who did really switch over to the special Spiral 4 build, so she could pierce DR easier. But because of that, she can be weak to guard a little bit. You have to run like a lower cooldown special so she can get around it. But with Alear, you don't have to do that anymore. You can go for the big Dragon Fang builds and reliably hit them, and they can do a ton of damage. And then lastly, we have like Legendary Female Byleth, Brave Celica, who doesn't have an open B slot thanks to Double Lion, and then even male Shez, who can spam things like Battle Astra. Being able to pierce DR with that is going to be really powerful without having to sacrifice your B slot. Okay, now that we're done talking about all the units Alear can support, let's talk about all the units that can support Alear most effectively. And the first one I really want to talk about is Fallen Maria. It's nothing new here, right? Fallen Maria gives out that miracle effect, which means that even if Alear gets deleted by a save ball, by someone like Duocrom, she can just come back to life and keep on fighting, and probably take him out pretty easily, so that's a really good support. She also gives stats, which is great, and she has that open C slot, so you can run something like Infantry No Follow-Up and give her No Follow-Up, which is something Alear definitely wants. Her other best support, in my opinion, has to be Saline. Saline is really good because she gives that extra level of sustain, and it's within 3 spaces, which is really nice because a lot of times you can't fit a unit within 2 spaces, so just having Saline there is a great option. You can also use Legendary Guinevere when their seasons collide. Now we also have the Eliwoods, right? Baby Eliwood for when it's not win season, and then Legendary Eliwood when it is win season, and they're both going to give bonus doubler, the +6 to all stats, and Null Panic. The only problem with Eliwood is that Alear does have a low attack, and she also has the Brave weapon, so her might on her weapon is a little bit lower as well. So it can be hard for the bonus doubler to always hit her, but if you set up your team right, you can definitely get it done. Then we have the 2 Robins. Legendary Robin obviously is just a phenomenal support for Alear, making her pretty much debuff proof and giving her that Omni Unity effect, but you do have to line up Earth Season with Fire Season, which isn't all that common. Then we even have Brave Robin. Brave Robin's really good, getting that +5 to all stats and the special boost, which does allow Alear to be a little bit more consistent with their specials, even in player phase, which is really nice. The only problem with Brave Robin is that he doesn't have an open C slot, so you can't run like something like Infantry No Follow-Up, which Alear definitely wants. Now the other support we have to talk about is Kaden. And Kaden is a very important support for Alear because he offers guard. And if you're going to be taking Catcher balls, you definitely want guard on Alear if you can get it, because a lot of units are going to proc their special on that second hit, and it's going to just do a lot of damage to Alear. Sometimes more than she can deal with, or sometimes more than she can sustain, and then she'll lose in a future fight. So being able to get Kaden up there to give that guard and the additional stats from his buff sharing and that defense and res is really good for her. Then we have our Astra Mythic mainstay, Elamine, who does give that false start and the drive damage reduction and defense and resistance visible bonuses. But of course Freyr exists, which kind of hard counters her, but she's definitely not as good as she once was when Freyr didn't exist. Then we have Duothor. Now Duothor is really cool because what she can do is she can put exposure on the enemy team, giving that additional +10 true damage per hit, and because Alear is using a Brave weapon, that's 20 true damage just from there, and if she quads, that's 40 true damage. there's not many things that are going to be surviving that. So she can offer a ton of power to Alear, and she even offers stall, so if the opponent wants to use like a really dangerous mobility team, she can often turn that off. And lastly, we can't forget Peony. Peony is just an amazing support unit, and the best part is she's a mythic as well. So she's been giving that plus 5 HP and speed, which Alear desperately wants. She can give that no penalty debuff effect, so she can turn off units like Yune or other things that could be annoying to deal with. So Peony is absolutely one of the best supports for Alear if you're going to be playing her in light season. Now let's move on to some of the good builds you can run on Alear, and there's quite a few different options depending on what you are using. The first one is going to be our budget build. This is essentially if you just have a base Alear, you're just going to go ahead, take her what she already has, and just throw the distinct counter Dragon Seal on her, and you're pretty much set. It's going to give her enough power and sustain to kill most things. Though it isn't completely optimal, it is a very solid set. The second set is going to be the max attack and speed set. Essentially what you're going to do is going to give her a distant attack speed solo in her A slot, and then you're going to put bonus doubler in her seal, which will give her another plus 6 to all stats when she's fully buffed. This will essentially give Alear as much firepower and speed as possible, but you do lose some sustain, right? You are definitely losing some sustain from the attack speed finish, and that is something she wants, so you're going to need to provide that sustain with some kind of support like Saline or Legendary Guinevere, or even Air. Then we have our third build, and this is the max sustain build. Essentially what this is going to do is you're going to have attack speed finish and counter roar. This is going to give her more damage reduction and more firepower and more healing. The problem is that you do open yourself up to sweep effects, so you're essentially giving Alear a new weakness, which isn't the best, honestly. There are a lot of sweep effect units in the game right now, like Duo Elise, like I said to Joshua, all those units. So kind of adding a weakness to your character isn't always the best. But if you don't really care about that, or if you're going for like a melee build and you don't care about distant counter, then you can go for this build and just switch out the seal. Our fifth build is the Unity stacking build. This is what you're going to be using if you have Legendary Robin supporting Legendary Alear. It's going to be really good. It's going to give her just a ton of attack and speed and make her debuff proof, which is always very nice. Then our fifth build is going to be the nuke build. So if you want to just play Alear and just kill things, which she can definitely do, you can go for a build like this. Speed Res Tempo is going to pretty much remove her weakness to guard and just allow her to reliably hit Dragon Blast all the time and completely melt through almost the entire cast. And then our final build is the Arena build, which is pretty much the typical build you're going to be going with, but then you're going to run an improved rally for scoring. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the video, and let's put Legendary Alear on the Omnitank tier list. Now, I'm sure most of you aren't surprised, but we're going to put Legendary Alear all the way on the top of Triple S tier. Now, Triple S isn't exactly in any specific order. I think all these units have different strengths and weaknesses, but Legendary Alear is definitely one of the best Omnitanks in the game. She's easily top 3 in my opinion, just because she has so many strengths and so few weaknesses. When it comes to comparing her to like Lucia or to like Summer Fjorm, she definitely can be better than them in certain situations, but she also does have some weaknesses like that dragon weakness, and she can struggle with brave attacks, which can be a bit annoying. So overall, I do think it comes down to like what kind of situation you're in, which Omnitank will be the best. But Alear is looking very powerful and is easily one of the best Omnitanks in the entire game. And with that, my update to the Omnitank tier list is complete. Hopefully this video was able to help you out and also answer all your questions about Legendary Alear. Make sure to drop a comment down below letting me know what you think of Legendary Alear and who you plan to pair her up with. As always, I'd like to thank my members for all their constant support, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you all later.